title steel cage match, where Thunder Rosa defeated Britt Baker to become the new AEW Women's World Champion. I like this match a lot. Congratulations to Thunder Rosa. Spectacular win. I enjoyed the... I preferred their match last year. But this is one of these things where you're like, I'm picking from my two favorite ice cream flavors, right? You know, this was very good. If you ask me to pick, I'm gonna go with the original Lights Out match, which I still think was brilliant. This was so much fun and such a real visceral moment for Thunder Rosa, who has in the past 2 years been working like crazy to get herself into any kind of position in wrestling and to make herself undeniable in wrestling. Coming through the forbidden door with the AEW, the NWA championship, to settling in, to starting up her promotion, to working in NWA and an Impact date here, and working on the indies and starting up Mission Pro. And Rosa is on one hand an extremely talented over wrestler, and on the other hand, a woman who is important to women's wrestling. I can't see a better, more fitting title for her to hold than this one here, and major congratulations to her. Can we all stop with the fucking pearl clutching in regards to women bleeding in matches on AEW? Look, in general in AEW, but specifically for the women, can we stop that? There's this constant criticism that AEW does it all the time. Look, I am of another generation of watching wrestling, right? Where it's like, this kind of shit would happen a lot more than people like to imagine, right? Is this the context of 2 decades of WWE poo-pooing, anything remotely like visceral and violent? We're like, no, we don't like this. We don't want to do this. Is this where we're at now? Is this where, and I'm not talking, man, you should go and watch death matches on the indie. I'm talking about the 80s and into the 90s. Like I said, maybe it's different for me. And I think the use of blood is always a question of context. If I'm watching a card or a TV show or a pay-per-view, like whatever, and there's like 5 matches on the card where people are bleeding, I'm like, that's pointless because it loses its impact. It does. Blood is a dramatic tool in the toolbox that wrestlers have at their disposition to add drama to what they're doing. So if it happens too often on one show, I'm like, all right, this is dumb, right? I had someone, on Twitter today. Every time there's a gimmick match, there's blood in AEW. And I'm like, well, is it because they're hardcore gimmicks? Where you expect it, where it should actually happen? Because if you're doing a street fight and there's blood, that's cool. If you're doing a dog collar match, yeah, same thing. A strap match, absolutely. It's like you're doing a cage match. Normally there should be some blood involved. If you're doing a submissions only match, well, maybe we can have a discussion about, was the blood really necessary? But let me watch the story. Let me see how it develops. Maybe it makes sense. I don't know. Because what's the opposite then? What is the opposite if you don't want, if you let, there's too much blood, I don't like the violence. And what's the opposite? Hell in a Cell. Hell in a Cell, which is systematically promoted time and time again as a match that shortens people's careers, that is devastating and destructive and takes a toll. No one comes out the same after, right? You've all heard it, right? And for a time, I think we would all agree that the Hell in a Cell was exactly that. But not anymore. Not when you have a pay-per-view that's named Hell in a Cell and you have 3 cell matches in it, where you have matches that finish in in referee stoppage in Hell in a Cell. You're like, that doesn't make sense. None of this shit makes sense. It's not dramatic. It's not even interesting. Who cares about Hell in a Cell anymore? There's no drama to it anymore. So what's the opposite? Is this better? I really feel like this discussion always comes up when it's the women. Like, for some reason, oh no, we're having these poor fragile porcelain ladies spilling blood. Ooh, how barbaric. This is equality, by the way. This is the kind of shit that people like me and like Kristen and anyone who advocates for women's wrestling, this is the shit we talk about when we say it's not always about, having an equal amount of men and women matches on a show. It's not always about that. That's not what equality ultimately means. Women hitting a ring, going to do a hardcore style match and blading, just like the dudes. That's equality. That's part of it. We cannot have this conversation every time women are going to blade in AEW, because it's going to be a thing. It's a recurring theme. It's going to happen again and again and again. You don't like it? Don't watch it. But the main thing here, this is, again, the discourse that this emanates from always comes from people who don't watch the show, who follow the gift dorks on Twitter, and who see that and then they're reacting. My sensibilities have been titillated. I do not like it.